Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining ISC 2020 Digital. It's a shame we cannot all come together as we have done the past years in Frankfurt, but I'm very grateful to the ISC team that they have pulled together a digital conference so that we can still sort of take part and keep in touch with each other. My name is Anastasia, and I will be presenting on behalf of Opin Kerfi and Reykjavik DC. We are very proud to have gone live with our data center project now this summer, and it's a big shame we can't come and actually present it to you all. But now you know that the project we've been speaking about the past 2 years has actually gone live. We're very proud to have the safest, one of the most capable and powerful data centers in Iceland now live, and you can see the website on the bottom of the screen. Today, I will be presenting to you about high performance computing and how the ability to solve many problems that we have today and how our lives have completely changed, not just high performance computing wise, but relying on data centers, and how this sort of technology has created many problems for us. Inevitably, we are actually in the middle of a crisis, as if one crisis wasn't enough, but especially the conditions during the coronavirus situations have shown us how dependent we are on digital services and how important it is that everything is in order there. Now, the team at Reykjavik DC and Opin Kerfi, we had this passion and vision to continue digital transformation and enable digital sort of, lifestyle and services, and being able to actually use what we have and develop without compromising the environment, the availability, and avoid downtime. So that's why we built Reykjavik DC. I will come to that later. But first, let's start with thinking of how much electricity we've been using these past few months. Even without the COVID crisis, we would have seen a steady increase in the adaptation of digital services, as we have, for example, a middle class that is coming out of poverty in many third world countries, as well as our everyday lives are basically dependent on digital services. I mean, not just high performance computing. I'm talking about, the fact that you go and work out and you use a smartwatch. You use digital services to order food. You use Uber to get to places. So just that and everything that is connected to some sort of a digital service is actually connected to a data center. This means that there is electricity being used, and the more adaptation there is in personal devices and so on, the more we have, the more stress we have on the electrical system. Now, when it comes to high performance computing, that has everything to do with, for example, research, for example, the simulation of for engineering and so on. So research and development right now is going through on high performance computing in virtual environments instead of physical environments. For example, the COVID-19 crisis has been, we've heard these statements like a vaccine is being researched, a vaccine is being developed, or we are researching how the virus is developing or behaving. Well, all of that wouldn't have been possible without the virtual environments which we use for research. And so that is also high performance computing. Everything is basically run on those machines. So without the availability of this technology, we wouldn't have been as far and as detailed as we would have been today in for example, the coronavirus research compared to before. So, but just as consumers, we have actually changed in our patterns. I mean, especially the past few months, but let's just review, life as normal. We have a swap to video streaming more than going to the movies, for example, or buying DVDs. We consume basically all services online, or we can consume them online. The government has databases now instead of paper archives or parallel to it. Healthcare is now being digitalized big time. We have more and more personal devices. I mean, I bet you all have kids with 1 or 2 personal devices each at least. This is something unheard of for me, for example. We've got private and public vehicles which we are using through, being electric, and also they are smart devices, so they are collecting data. This has created a higher demand on the electricity system and on data centers. They need to, however, keep the price point down. And as you can imagine, the more demand there is, the more stress there is on the system, the more pressure they face with the prices. So they can't really give out the same price, right? They also need to ensure no outages. I mean, the more we depend on digital services, the less outages we can actually deal with. Additionally, last but not least, they have to also comply with sustainability and emission laws, which is not easy when there is such a demand on electricity and such a stress on the system. And when I speak of electricity, I mean primarily data center processing power, because essentially everything that is digital goes through a data center, many times through high performance computing, which is especially sort of demanding. And what is the forecast? Well, today we have 5% that is consumed by electronics. This is expected to rise to 40% by 2035. The overall consumption will go up 3 times in the next 5 years. These are just forecasts, by the way. This can all change, probably more. ICT equipment will be consuming 20% of the world electricity in 2025, including high performance computing, and will be responsible for 5.5% of the CO2 emissions. Now, you can see that the forecast is just going up. You know, I looked at these numbers a couple of years ago and they looked a little bit different. So, and this is something that is, you know, there is a general awareness of this. I mean, for example, Forbes writes about this, and I have, you know, like 25 articles on this. And data centers are especially those that are, you know, it's an industry that is really experiencing this sort of crisis. It's a growing problem, not just because of global warming, but also because of, you know, outages, because of the fact that there is a demand for this. We are becoming a digitally fueled just society, and we have a digital lifestyle everywhere, wherever we go. This is also a known problem. It's quite interesting to see how this has actually been in the news quite frequently and quite alarmingly since, for example, 2009. And here we see that there is already a data center energy crisis, and, you know, mentioning prices and so on, and efficiency and sustainability. And we in tech, and also people in business in general, I mean, we will all know that a lot has happened since 2009. So this is sort of this giving you the awareness of how far this has gone, and the fact that we are actually running towards a wall if we haven't already. I can't really put it better than someone, I don't remember quite his name at this moment, but he put this this way on Forbes Tech in a column. He said, "We must find another way. There is just too much demand, and we will probably not be able to supply electricity to twice as many data centers in the next 4 years." The good thing is that we don't have to Google for a long time to find a capable and a powerful location for this sort of pursuit. And you who have heard me before, and you who have heard presentations from Opin Kerfi, will know that we don't put Iceland as the only data center location in the world that is possible. We all know that there are many great locations for data centers which have great advantages, but analysts and researchers seem to come to the conclusion time and time again that Iceland has just the optimal mixture or combination for putting highly demanding data center equipment into. The interesting thing is that it's quite unique because we are an island. Wherever we need to go, we have to fly for at least 4 hours. So it is quite a unique little spot on the globe, with the Gulf Stream on our right side, which means that our climate is very favorable, and also we have a great deal of natural resources. So it's quite interesting that there is a superior spot on the planet, despite there being many good spots. And this is the combination that the team at Reykjavik DC wanted to sort of harness even more. We just really wanted to enable the digital development in the world to not stop, to not have to be slower than it has to be, because we have the capacity. Now, you who have heard me speak about this, you know this combination very well, so I'll go over it quite quickly. We have a very favorable climate in Iceland, so it doesn't really get very hot, and it doesn't get very cold either, as opposed to many Nordic locations where it gets very cold. Now, this results in there being very little need for ventilation or AC in data centers, and I believe it is up to 40% of a data center electricity bill is actually air conditioning. So that basically falls off in Iceland simply because, for example, during the summer it doesn't get hotter than like 13 degrees, and during the winter it doesn't get much colder than -3. Even the notorious summer of 2018, for those of you who remember, who were at ISC, who experienced the 35-degree heat, there was none of it in Iceland. It was interesting to see how data centers, even in the most Nordic locations, were really struggling to keep the facilities cool. We are exceptionally well connected as an island through submarine cables. Especially in the COVID-19 crisis, we have seen that households and remote working was not a problem. Households were connected so that we still had sort of remote working and remote help in data centers for our international clients as well. So this is absolutely no problem. There is also a project going on for a connection to Ireland, so a direct submarine connection to the hub in Dublin, which really creates a great opportunity for those in the UK. Energy is something truly unique in Iceland. There is an absolute massive amount of sustainable, green, independent energy. This means that we are immune to the world markets of energy. This means that we have a great capacity for the future. And this means that we sort of decide over those resources, which means that we can keep the prices down, we can keep the prices favorable, and we can even guarantee them for decades to come. The Icelandic state knows that this is a great industry to invest in for us as a country, which is why there is very favorable legislation in place for businesses who want to host in Iceland and invest into digital operations here. And last but not least, Iceland has topped the lists many, many years in a row for being #1 in overall safety, including natural landscape, but not only. Because we are an island, for example, we have very, very little risk for crime or terrorism. But I wanted to emphasize later in the presentation that during the Corona crisis, we've had a tremendous crisis management demonstration in the country, meaning that nothing actually went down, which was not the case in many other countries, which further shows how incredibly capable the Icelandic nation is in reacting to unprecedented circumstances. So this is what the Reykjavik DC team actually saw, and we wanted to make it real for businesses outside of Iceland to actually be able to take advantage of this and also keep developing, keep sort of innovating without any compromise. This is why they had the idea and created a flagship facility for sustainable growth in digitalization and adoption of hyper-efficient high-performance computing operations. We are not talking exclusively about high-performance computing, but because we have such incredible availability of power, and because there are favorable climate conditions, high-performance computing is especially suitable for these facilities. Now, the interesting part is the energy of this. I know that many of you have heard that the Icelandic data centers are all green, which is not untrue. However, in 2021, we see that we are getting a legislation called the EU Renewable Energy Directive, which will translate into national law. This means that every business that is sourcing energy from anywhere needs to show certification of origin or proof of origin of the energy. This even applies to Icelandic data centers. Now, we ensured that that would be the case from the very start. So before we actually started building, we ensured with Landsvirkjun, which is the national energy company of Iceland, to have green certificates available to our clients straight away before we even started building. So when you host in Reykjavik DC and with Opin Kerfi, you get a CO2 footprint sort of decrease certificate straight away. At the moment, this is the only Icelandic data centers that is running on 100% certified green energy. If you have any questions on this, please do let me know. You can email me and I will give you more more details. I'm really excited about the fact that this data center that we have just opened and gone live with, the vision that we've had has actually gone real. And I will not go through each and every point on the screen, but these are some of the characteristics that you can see on our website as well. So you can see here, for those of you who are experienced, that this is a tier 3+ facility. This is located within the capital area of Reykjavik, which means that we have just about 5 or 10 minutes reaction time from our side. However, we have people on site all the time. This is a highly scalable facility, so we can scale up to 5,000 square meters. We have a lead time of a module of 6 to 7 months, which is almost unheard of in some locations. We are completely carrier neutral. We have the highest level of physical security in Iceland. And what is really exciting is that we have more than N+1 of power outage protection. So in the very unlikely case of something going wrong, we would be able to run the data center fully for 72 hours. This is why we have been chosen by the financial market of Iceland to actually run their IT operations. So every card transaction, every sort of clearing, and all of the banks are basically running through this data center, which is why we are very proud of the fact that we have this flagship security standard in here, which is one of the hardest ones in Iceland. It's a mission critical site basically. During the COVID crisis, I think we've seen a tremendous amount of success on Iceland's side when it comes to crisis handling, which should actually even strengthen further the case for putting mission critical informations into this country. Myself, having had experience from several countries, I have seen how Icelanders have responded quickly, efficiently. I mean, in several countries in the world, we've seen data centers gone down, we've seen misunderstandings between subcontractors and other workers that needed to access data centers, we've seen lockdowns and so on. Whereas here, with a very small population and very limited resources, we've managed not only to handle it well on a national level, which means that we are actually now getting back to absolute normal, but also on the industry level. None of our clients in Opin Kerfi or in Reykjavik DC have gone down. We've actually, at Opin Kerfi, the team have been working with transitioning the a national hospital communication system during the COVID crisis, and there were no delays whatsoever because everyone was very diligent working in A and B teams, very sort of highly accountable, highly responsible for their positions, because we know that there is much at stake. So reading more about Iceland's handling of the COVID crisis and how we managed to deal with the enemy that everyone was dealing with at the same time is quite fascinating. So I recommend that reading. If anything, this would strengthen and further sort of create a better case for someone that is doubting or someone that is considering Iceland for data center operations. In conclusion, I would like to just wrap it up with, I think, a realization that all of us have, and that is that our dependence on digital is only growing, whether it is private, whether it is business, whether it is our, grocery shopping or banking or even healthcare, but we cannot keep up the demand with business as usual. So I think everyone has realized, especially by now, that whether it is high performance computing for simulations, for understanding our, for example, nutritional profile, or aerodynamics of a car, or running sort of experiments in finance and so on, I think that everyone has understood that at this point, the way that we are going, it is actually not possible to keep going as we have, which is why the Reykjavik DC team created this facility to enable the digital transformation to keep going, the digital innovation to keep going at a pace which is uncompromised. And we are thrilled to offer these facilities to international businesses and demonstrate a sustainable, powerful solution which enables the full utilization of what digital tech can do. And I am very excited to see what we can do together with other countries and businesses in the overseas. So thank you very much for your attention of this short presentation. My contact details are on the screen. Please let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for joining ISC Digital 2020, and I hope I see you next year. Thank you very much.